The electricity was about to be cut off. So was the water. Barber Frank Torres was going to try his last resort, selling everything in his shop. Would his 35-year barbering career end like this? His last customer sitting in the corner, retired teacher Wilson, saw Frank quietly crying. "What's wrong, Frank?" he asked. That's when Wilson's eye caught an old bullet wound visible through Frank's open shirt, and Wilson suddenly realized, was this the hero his son had talked about from Desert Storm? Welcome to Stories of Honor. Before we begin this powerful story of struggle, recognition, and community support, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today, and if you believe stories like this need to be remembered, hit that subscribe button and help us keep these stories alive. In one of Phoenix, Arizona's oldest neighborhoods, on the corner of Main Street, the same barber shop had stood for 35 years. Frank's Barber Shop, a simple sign, old chairs, but a place that held thousands of stories inside. Frank Torres, 68 years old, with sun-bronzed skin, gray hair, and always greeting his customers with a calm expression. His hands had grown accustomed to holding scissors and clippers through years of experience, but in recent months, these hands had started trembling, not from old age, but from stress and sleeplessness. That Monday morning, when he opened his shop at 7 a.m., an envelope was waiting on his door. The letter inside froze his heart. Final notice: if you do not pay your tax debt of $8,500 within 30 days, your business will be closed. Phoenix City Tax Department. Frank slowly folded the letter and put it in the drawer under the cash register, next to the other debt letters. Electricity, water, rent. The pandemic had changed everything. Customer numbers had decreased, but bills had increased. His first customer came at 8:30 a.m. Old regular Joe had been getting shaved by the same barber for 15 years. "How are you, Frank? You don't look good." "I'm fine, Joe, just a little tired." As Frank picked up the scissors, Joe noticed his hands trembling. "Frank, are you sure? Your hands—" "Old age, Joe. These things happen." But Frank wasn't trembling because of old age. He couldn't sleep at night. The fear of losing his 35 years of hard work, his life, was eating him from the inside. When the shop quieted down, Frank sat in the back room, sipped his coffee, and looked at the photographs on the wall. There were a few pictures from his military days. Most customers didn't notice them, thinking they were just old military memories. But in these photographs was a past of Frank's that no one knew. 1991, Operation Desert Storm. Sergeant Major Frank Torres, 3rd Armored Division. He was 34 then, strong, fearless. Now the same man couldn't pay his tax debt. The phone rang, from Frank's wife, Maria. "Frank, the electric bill came. $450. What are we going to do?" Frank listened quietly. Maria had had a heart attack 3 years ago.
Doctor expenses, medications, everything had piled up. "We'll handle it, Maria. Don't worry." But how would he handle it? Finding a new job at their age was impossible. He had no income other than the shop. That afternoon, an old friend, Rick, stopped by. Rick was also a veteran, but had retired with benefits and had a good pension. "Frank, I heard business is going badly. Is there anything I can help with?" Frank was proud. "Thanks, Rick. I'll handle it. Frank, we're brothers. We leaned on each other in war. We can lean on each other now." "I know, Rick, but this is my battle." Rick saw the insistence in Frank's eyes and didn't press further, but he wasn't comfortable. Thursday, Frank decided to try his last resort. He would sell the antique barbering tools, old chairs, even the mirror and photographs on the wall. He posted ads on internet sites, 35-year barbershop items for sale, antique scissors, mirror, chair. The first customer came in the afternoon, a young antique dealer, pricing everything very low. "For this chair, I can give you $200 at most." Frank's heart sank. That chair had served thousands of customers for 35 years, but he had no other choice. "Okay, take it." When he went home that evening, Maria was waiting at the door. "Frank, you're selling the shop, aren't you?" Frank couldn't look his wife in the eyes. I have no other choice, Maria. Maria hugged her husband. In their 45-year marriage, she had never seen Frank so broken. Maybe we can borrow from our son David. Maria, David has 2 children. He has loans. We can't be a burden to him. That night, Frank couldn't sleep. Lying in bed, watching the ceiling, he thought about the Desert Storm days. Back then, he had been in difficult situations too, but had always found a solution. Now at 68, solutions didn't come as easily. Friday morning, Frank opened his shop for the last time normally. He had to prepare for the city inspector who would come Monday. At 10 a.m., one of his old customers, Mr. Wilson, came. Robert Wilson, 72, was a retired history teacher. Polite, quiet, he regularly got his hair cut once a month and chatted with Frank. "Good morning, Mr. Wilson. The usual?" "Good morning, Frank. Yes, please." As Wilson sat in the chair, he noticed the deep sadness on Frank's face. "Frank, you don't look good. Is there a problem?" Frank hesitated as he picked up the scissors. He trusted Wilson. Maybe, for the first time, he could tell someone the truth. "Mr. Wilson, I have to close the shop." Wilson was surprised. "Why? Isn't business going well?" "No, I can't pay my taxes. I owe $8,500. Monday's the last day." Wilson listened quietly. He saw Frank continue cutting hair, but his hands were trembling. "Frank, this is very sad. 35 years. This neighborhood wouldn't be the same without your shop." "I know, Mr. Wilson, but there's nothing I can do."
Wilson looked at Frank from behind in the mirror. Frank had opened his shirt collar because of the heat. That's when Wilson's eye caught something on Frank's left shoulder. An old scar. Very old, but healed in a special way. Wilson was a history teacher, especially expert in war history. He recognized this type of wound. "Frank," he said slowly, "this scar, where is it from?" Frank saw Wilson looking at him in the mirror. He closed his shirt. "An old accident, Mr. Wilson. It's not important." But something clicked in Wilson's mind. The shape of this scar, its location. In the stories his son Michael told about Desert Storm, he had heard about such wounds. When Wilson went home, the suspicion in his mind grew. His son Michael was a Desert Storm veteran and constantly told heroism stories from the war. That evening, he called Michael. "Michael, I'm going to ask you something. That hero you mentioned in Desert Storm, Sergeant Major Torres, what kind of man was he?" Michael got excited. "Dad, that man was a legend. Frank Torres. Our 12-man patrol was ambushed. Despite being wounded, Torres came alone and saved all of us in 3 hours. He was shot in the shoulder, but..." Wilson's heart raced. "In the shoulder?" "Left shoulder." "Yes, Dad. Why did you ask?" "Michael, how old was this Frank Torres, or so?" "He was about 34 to 35 then. He should be 68 to 70 now. Why, Dad? What's happening?" As soon as Wilson hung up, he rushed to his computer. He searched Frank Torres Desert Storm on the internet. The result that came up shocked him. Sergeant Major Frank Torres, Medal of Honor recipient, Operation Desert Storm, 1991. Honored for saving the lives of 12 soldiers. The rescue operation he carried out alone while wounded under enemy fire. Wilson had the photograph in front of him. Young Frank Torres from 30 years ago. Same face, same eyes, same determined expression. Barber Frank Torres was one of America's greatest war heroes. Wilson couldn't sleep that night. Early the next morning, he called his son Michael. "Michael, we have an emergency. We need Barber Frank." He explained the situation. Michael couldn't believe it. "Dad, Sergeant Major Torres is barbering, and his shop is closing?" "Yes, Michael, and we can't allow this." Michael immediately took action. He messaged old soldier friends, shared on social media. The news spread within 6 hours. Medal of Honor recipient Sergeant Major Frank Torres' shop is closing. He needs help. That evening, Wilson made a plan, but first he needed to talk to Frank. Saturday morning, Wilson came to the shop early. Frank was sitting alone, his eyes red. "Mr. Wilson, you're early." "Frank, we need to talk." Wilson didn't sit in the chair. He stood in front of Frank. Frank, you're Sergeant Major Frank Torres, aren't you? Frank froze. What do you mean? Desert Storm, 1991. The man who saved 12 soldiers' lives. Medal of Honor recipient. You're him. Frank was silent for a long time. Then he nodded. That's a very old story, Mr. Wilson. Frank, you're one of America's greatest heroes, and now your shop is closing because of tax debt. Mr. Wilson, this doesn't matter. Back then it was my duty. I did it. Now I have a different life. Wilson got angry. Doesn't matter. You saved 12 people's lives, and now no one knows your situation. Frank stood up. Mr. Wilson, please, let's close this topic here. No, Frank, I'm a retired teacher. My son Michael is alive because of you, and we're going to help you. As soon as Wilson left the shop, he put his plan into action. First, he called the local newspaper. Arizona Republic newspaper, I want to share a story with you. In the afternoon, journalist Jennifer Martinez came to Frank's shop. Frank initially didn't want to give an interview. I just do barbering, ma'am. I'm not newsworthy. Mr. Torres, you're a Medal of Honor recipient, and your shop is closing. This is big news. Jennifer wrote Frank's story. The news was published that evening. Medal of Honor recipient veteran forced to close shop. That night, Frank's phone never stopped ringing. Old soldier friends, people he didn't know, local businessmen. But Frank didn't talk to anyone. This is wrong. I didn't ask for help, he said. Sunday morning, when Frank opened his shop, he was shocked. There was a long line in front of his door. 20 to 30 people were waiting. The first to come was a young soldier. Sergeant Major Torres, I'm Private Jackson. I want a haircut. Behind him, an elderly man. I'm a Korea veteran. I read your story. Then Vietnam veteran, Iraq veteran, Afghanistan veteran. Frank was surprised. Gentlemen, I just cut hair. I don't do anything special. Young soldier Jackson spoke. Sergeant Major, you saved 12 soldiers. Now it's our turn to help you. That day, Frank had never seen so many customers. Everyone was getting haircuts, but no one was taking money from Frank. When he counted the register that evening, there was $1,200, just in one day. Monday morning, when the city inspector came, he faced a different scene. More than 50 people were waiting in front of the shop. All veterans. Inspector John Davies entered with the closure papers in his hand. Mr. Torres, due to your tax debt. At that moment, Wilson intervened. Mr. Davies, the debt has been paid. Davies was surprised. What do you mean? Wilson handed over the check. $8,500. The exact amount of debt. Who gave this money? Phoenix Veteran Community. We gave it. Davies examined the check. It was valid. Frank's eyes filled with tears. Mr. Wilson, I can't take this money. It's too much. Frank, this money is from the friends, families of the 12 soldiers who are alive because of you, and from this community. You won't take it, we'll give it. That evening, Wilson organized a special meeting at the local veteran community. He also invited Frank. When Michael Wilson saw Frank, he ran to him. Sergeant Major Torres, it's a great honor to meet you. Frank was embarrassed. Son, I just did my duty. No, Sergeant Major, you're a hero, and we're with you. There were more than 40 veterans at the meeting. Wilson spoke. Friends, a great hero lives among us, and we were unaware of his presence. This is shameful. The community leader, former Colonel Martin, stood up. Sergeant Major Torres, your story embarrassed us. While a hero was having financial difficulties, we remained silent. This won't happen anymore. Frank stood up. Gentlemen, I'm not a hero or anything. In those days, I did what I had to do. Now I'm living my normal life. No, Sergeant Major, said young soldier Jackson. You're the treasure of our community, and we'll protect your value. In the following weeks, Frank's shop became the heart of the neighborhood. Veterans came regularly, not just for haircuts. Young people came to listen to stories from Frank. Mothers brought their children saying, "This uncle is a real hero." A new plaque was hung on the shop wall. Frank Torres, Medal of Honor recipient, community hero. Frank was still modest. "This is exaggerated. I just do barbering." But Wilson told him, "Frank, you're not just a barber. You're the memory of this community. Your story inspires young people." A month later, Frank's story was broadcast on national television. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. Everyone told Frank Torres' story, but Frank's life didn't change. He still opened his shop at 7 every morning, greeted customers, listened to stories. Letters began coming to Frank from across the country, from soldiers' families, veterans, civilian citizens. One letter particularly affected Frank, from a 19-year-old military candidate. "Sergeant Major Torres, your story convinced me to join the military. I want to serve others, just like you did." Frank cried that night. His story hadn't just saved a shop, it had also affected a young person's life. Maria had never seen her husband so proud. "Frank, look what a big difference you're making." "Maria, I just do barbering." "No, Frank, you give hope." 6 months later, Phoenix City changed the name of Main Street in Frank's honor. Frank Torres Boulevard. Frank spoke at the opening ceremony. "Friends, this honor doesn't belong to me. It belongs to all veterans. I was just lucky. My story was heard. But there are thousands of heroes among us, living quietly. See them too. Support them too." Wilson approached Frank. "Frank, you taught all of us a lesson. Real heroism is done quietly." "Mr. Wilson, I was just lucky. At the right time, in the right place, the right people found me." "No, Frank, you were always a hero. We just realized it late." A year later, Frank's shop is still the heart of Phoenix. Veterans meet here, share stories, pass them on to the young generation. Frank is now 69, but his hands no longer tremble, because he knows the community supports him, values him. Wilson is still a regular customer. Every time he comes, he tells Frank, "Frank, what would have happened if I hadn't seen your scar that day?" Frank smiles. "Someone else would have seen it, Mr. Wilson. Real things don't stay hidden. But I was among those who saw, and how lucky I am." There's a small sign on Frank's shop window. "Veterans always welcome. Your service is unforgettable." And Frank reads that sign every morning, smiles, and starts work. Because he knows that heroism isn't just in war, but hidden in the small services done every day. This story teaches us, real heroes might be living among us, but we might not see them. Our veterans are the silent heroes of our community. Listening to their stories, knowing their values, being with them when they struggle is all our duty. How many heroes like Frank Torres are there among us, living quietly? See them, support them, because they gave everything for us. Have you ever met such a hero? How can you support veterans in your area? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story touched you, subscribe. Because at Stories of Honor, we'll continue telling the stories of silent heroes. See you in our next story. Until then, keep an eye on the heroes around you, because they might need your support.